Hey, what's up guys, my name is Benjamin Sub and this is BS Anime, so I'm here to talk about subunits. Now, as we know, there are subunits for all three major groups. So I'm here to talk about subunits once again. So in the previous video I talked about the history of it, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and watch that. But here I'm talking about just a refresher for you guys. So remember in Muse we had the leaders Honoka, Ellie, and Umi. Those would be the leaders for each individual subunit. After a few polls here and there, we ended up coming with Lily White, Printup, and BB. These would be the subunits for Muse. For Aqua, we had a poll, then we had a second poll where we were given choices, where we select from 1d6 choices, and afterwards we selected the names, which eventually resulted in the three subgroups that we know today: Azalea, Sidon, and Guilty Kiss. So that's how it happened for the first two groups. How about the third group? So the third group, as we know, is part of the Perfect Dream project. So as we know, PDP will be getting subunits like the previous two groups. The creation of this will be very similar like to before by using polls. So when you go in ahead participate in the polls, you're going to have to choose who you want to be in each subunit. There is a lot of things going into when you're considering to make a subunit. It might be the style of music that they sing, or it could just be their personalities overall. But in order to make a good subunit, you need to understand each person very well. So I'm going to go ahead and cover a little bit about each girl. First up is Shizuku Osaka. She's part of the Love Live School Idol Festival group, and the song that she sings is this one. Shizuku overall, it seems to be kind of the idea of Azalea. She's very pure and simple, and she likes theater. Hasumi Nakasu is part of the Denki Online group, and this is her song, Diamond. After listening to her song and reading about her, you can figure out she's very mischievous and she likes to cause trouble with a lot of other people. Rina Tennoji is part of the Famitsu app group, and her song is Doki People in Motion. Rina is very energetic, but only when she's behind her mask. She's otherwise very shy, and she also has kind of like that Vocaloid kind of feel. The leader of the group, Ayumi Uhara, is part of the Famitsu app group. Her song is Yume e no Ippo. She very much has that leader kind of personality. She's hardworking, passionate, you know, kind of like what you expect from Chiko or Honoka. Ayami Ishita is part of the Famitsu act group, and her song is Mecha Going. She's a fun-loving person who also likes to help everyone out. She likes to make puns. She overall is just a fun person to be around. Setsuna Yuki is part of the Denki Online group, and her song is Chase. Setsuna Yuki is very energetic, eager, and studious. She makes sure she works really hard, and she is a really big fan of idols. Emma Verde is part of the Love Live School Idol Festival group, and her song is Evergreen. Emma Verde essentially is everything about green. In fact, her last name means green in Italian. She loves nature a lot, and she just loves being in nature all the time. Karen Asaka is part of the Genki Online group, and her song is Starlight. Karen Asaka essentially has that very mature, seductive vibe that you might expect from BB or Guilty Kiss. That's essentially who she is, but sometimes she could be childish. Finally, we have Kanata Konoe, who is part of the Love Live School Idol Festival group. She is known to be very passionate about two things: her younger sister and sleeping. She is also part of the health committee, and apparently she is skilled at cooking. So hopefully that gives you a decent idea of how every girl is like. Yes, it was short and quick, but I just want to give you a quick idea of how every character is like. Now, if you wanted to participate in the polls, there's a link in the description as well as on the screen right here. And here's a graphic that I believe I took from Reddit, which basically translates the site. So basically there are three different major boxes where you have to click on which girl you want each subunit. Unlike previous years where it was a 3-3-3, we have a 2-3-4. So the first subunit will be a duo, then will be followed by a trio, and then your quartet. So remember, when you're voting on this, you cannot duplicate, so you cannot have AU move for more than one of those boxes. As well as don't forget to enter in your age, as well as where you live, if you don't live in Japan, just make it up and go ahead and submit it. You can do this once per day. So now I'll go over my choices and I'll explain why. So remember, there's a duo, a trio, and a quartet. This is not 3-3-3. So there will be different sizes, which will be the first time for Love Live. So the first category I'm going to do is favorite grouping, which this will allow overlap. I'm essentially just picking my favorite mix for any duo, trio, or quartet. So my first choice will be Ai, Miyashita, and Setsuna Yuki. Why? Basically, they're my favorite characters, and they sang my favorite songs out of the new 9 solos that they released. I really like their voices, and I think it could bring an interesting mix. One had more of the electronic kind of style, and the other one had a very good anime song. I feel like they could be a good mix. That's essentially my reasoning. For my trio, once again, I'm going to have Ai and Setsuna because I said they are my favorites, but I'm going to throw in Rina this time because I feel like she could bring a very interesting mix. So if you remember, Rina's song had more of that kind of like Vocaloid kind of theme, but I feel like they could pull out a really nice electronic, maybe anime kind of style song. So I think they could really blend with each other very well, and they could make a really interesting style song that I personally listen to a lot. So for my quartet, once again, I'm gonna have Ai, Setsuna, as well as Rina, because obviously I'm now throwing Karen to the mix because I feel like she could also then bring in more of that electronical kind of song. All of them had some kind of like synthesizers in their songs, so I feel like they can all blend with that kind of style together. But also I liked all their voices, so that's kind of my reasoning. Again, just to remind you, I'm not voting for this because I can't. These are just my picks if I had to only pick a trio or say a quartet. Now the next section is going to be my best grouping with considering all the members, because I have to use every single member and there's no overlap allowed. So I'm going to try to match my best, and so this is what I would most likely vote for. For my duo, I will have Kanata and Shizuku. So my reasoning behind it is these two have kind of more of a pure style, something that I feel like Lily White or Azalea offered. For the trio, I have decided to use Setsuna, Karen, and Ai. So yes, the two of them were my favorite singers, but I also throw in Karen because she also has that kind of mature style. And if we combine that with the livelihood of Ai and Setsuna's deep, very powerful voice, I feel like they can make a really good mix. Maybe something you feel like BB or Guilty Kiss like. They could end up making anime-like songs or something of that nature, or something that would be kind of that cool kind of song. And well, by process of elimination, I will have Ayumu, Emma, Rina, and Kasumi. So I felt all of these girls kind of make that kind of happy cute style, that that kind of vibe that Printemps or Sidon make. And now I'm not trying to necessarily make these primarily like the previous subunits. It could be something very different. So Rina, for example, had that more kind of Vocaloid theme, and Emma has more of a nature theme. So I feel like this could be a more lively kind of version, maybe kind of like what Muse felt like, except just less members, so they can be more focused on each individual girl. So overall, I felt like this was probably one of the best way to mix all these girls into the 2, 3, 4 combo. Yes, there are other ways, and I could also agree with swapping a few people here and there, but of course this is my choice and it'll probably change in the future. Anyways, moving on, I'm going to talk about other potential groupings that I like. For another duo, I like the Irina combination because they could both be very lively, energetic, and they could also have that very electronic feel. I also, for another duo, was Kanata and Emma. Well, I don't know, I feel like their songs kind of are very similar in a way. One was talking about sleeping in a forest, while the other one was literally about nature. So maybe they could do something very nature-like, which would be, I don't know if that would make a whole lot of sense for a whole subunit, but I felt like they do mix very well together, and I think their voices will mix very well together overall. But I don't know, this is another thing that I felt like that could work. Now before I go, I do want to ask you guys a question. What do you think of my subunits? And of course, what do you want to be and of course, what is your ideal subunit? If you can go ahead and post those in the comments, and of course you can go ahead and vote. Before I officially go, I do want to go just how to do it, just in case some of you guys get lost. So let's go ahead and explain how this actually goes, and I'll show you an example. So here I am at the site where you go ahead and vote on who you want to be in the subunits. The site is in the top left and also in the description for you to find. The site is in Japanese, so I translated to English so I can get a decent idea of what it's saying, but it's far from perfect. As you can see, the list of names will be to right, so you can actually know who is where. So go ahead and vote for who you want. There is a duo, trio, and the quad, or the what they say, foursome. So that's the 2, 3, 4. So go ahead and vote, and remember you cannot repeat. So I'll go ahead and put in my selections right here. Following that, you want to put in how old you are. I don't know, you can go lie, make up a number, whatever. Following that, then you want to select your area. So these are only areas in Japan. If you don't live in Japan, I don't know, you can go ahead and pick whatever one you want. And then you can put in a message, 120 character limit, on why you want that unit to be the case. I don't know, make something up if you have no reason. My reason's way too long, so I don't know, just put something like that. And then of course you have to do the reCAPTCHA to make sure you're not a robot. Once you're done, you can click the right button and it will submit, and you're good to go. You can do this once every day, and this will end on the end of February. Following this, we should probably see something like this, where they might pick the top 6 choices or something like that, and then we'll pick from there. So if that does become a thing, I'll try to make a video about it. And I do want to mention these guys, thank you so much for pointing out this, because I completely missed this. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. If there is more follow-up to this, I will do my best to make sure I cover it. And if I do happen to miss it, let me know in the comments, and hopefully I'll get to it. But thanks guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys soon.